Well, it's time to huddle up. On behalf of the National Association of Mortgage Brokers, I want to welcome you to the 11-minute huddle. These are quick, practical ideas for becoming a better leader. And oh, by the way, we are all leaders. And let me see here, get this thing moving. Where's my cursor? Disappeared. There we go. My name is Ski Swiatkowski. I am going to be your quarterback and actually coach in the huddle today. And if you want to know anything about me, you can check me out on LinkedIn. There's my LinkedIn profile link. And I want to mention we're going to hang on beyond the 11-minute huddle for anybody that's got any questions. If you have to leave, that's fine. But we're going to have a Q&A at the end. That was Jeff Perry's idea. I think great idea. So hang in there. I also want to mention one thing. These are designed for a very broad audience of the NAMB community. So this is not just for owners or managers. This is for loan officers and account executives and anybody who is out there, because we're all leaders, as I like to say, even if we're only leading ourselves. So let's talk first of all about thanking Jeff Perry for a great idea. Again, he's been invaluable to me in this series. And several weeks ago, we did a huddle on taking responsibility. And afterwards, he said, you know, this is so much information to pack into 11 minutes. You could probably break it apart and come up with individual sessions and go deeper. And I said, great idea. So what we're going to do is we are going to take number one, the first step in taking responsibility, and that's develop the belief in your potential and power. Because folks, if we do that, if we start to really believe in our potential and power, it enables us to be more in control. And when we're in control, we're more inclined to take action. Plus, it fosters confidence for handling problems and disappointments. And these are steps that we need to take if we're going to take responsibility, stop blaming and complaining. It's got to start with the potential and power that we have. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But we're going to do this with a bit of a twist. I want to talk about developing the potential and power of people. So while this sounds like it's geared strictly towards management, this is geared towards all of us. And let's move in and first of all, define what's potential and power. Well, potential is having or showing the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. And power is the ability to act or produce an effect. In our case, the ability to convert potential into reality. Well, I also, first of all, want to start expressing what I feel is, and it is, in fact, a cornerstone principle of the work that I do in leadership development. This is something I believe from my heart. I believe that we are all born with a God-given potential and power, and that it is our objective, it is our goal, our responsibility to discover it and develop this potential and power for the betterment of ourselves and others. Now, I did not come up with this. I can't take credit for this, because going back in time to the Roman era, Marcus Aurelius spoke about it. Napoleon Hill wrote about it in Think and Grow Rich. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale wrote about it in The Power of Positive Thinking. It is in the Bible in multiple places where it's referencing our potential and our power. And so, you know, just realize that when we do discover and develop our personal our potential and power, it begins to tap into the sources of true happiness. And what are they? The sources of true happiness are purpose and fulfillment. When we really dial into our purpose and we can start to fulfill that, that's where happiness is created. It's the byproduct of these two. But here is the issue, folks. Most people don't realize the extent of their power and potential. And there's a lot of reasons, but I think the main thing is we all have a certain amount of self-doubt when it comes to things. And, you know, this stems from many self-limiting beliefs that we've picked up over the years, dating back to when we were children, when, you know, people and our family members, friends, coaches may have said or done something that made us question our ability. And we accumulate these over time. and it has a cumulative effect in how we view things, especially around power and potential. And what happens is we find a safe, comfortable place based on what we've been able to do. And once we get to that safe, comfortable place, we become trapped there. And we are well short of utilizing our true power and potential. And that's true of all of us to some extent. And the issue is that we don't know how to find it. We don't know how to find these things. It's not taught so much at home and rarely, if ever, taught in schools. But we do desire to find it. And one of the places we desire to find our purpose and fulfillment is on our jobs, where we work. We spend a significant amount of time on our jobs. Perhaps it's the most ideal place for us to find purpose and fulfillment. It's, we want to feel worthwhile. We want to enjoy what we are doing. But folks, that is not happening for most people. And you may say, well, how do you know that? Well, here's why I know it. Gallup has done research on the workplace engagement. They've done this every year. And here's what they found. 52% of workers are disengaged. That means they have no attachment to their job or the company. They come in, they do their job, they collect their paycheck, they go home, and they use that money to find places where they can find engagement. Now, on top of that, there's another 13% that are actively disengaged. These are the real problems in your company. These are the disruptors and the negative elements within your company. That's 65%. That means roughly 2 out of 3 employees are disengaged. And guess what? That's costing U.S. companies between $450 and $550 million of lost productivity each year. So what can and what should management be doing about this particular issue? Well, it's pretty obvious. They need to commit to developing the power, the potential and power of their people. So how do you do this? Well, how do you develop this potential and power of people? Well, the very first thing is you've got to believe in them. And I don't mean to make it sound like we're all kids, but in a way we really are inside. But think about kids. When you encourage them, when you point out their potential and what they can do. Did you ever see a kid light up when they start to do something successfully, whether it's riding their bike or throwing the baseball or whatever it is, playing a musical instrument? They light up because somebody has indicated that they believe in them, and they start to believe in themselves. Next, you have to help identify their potential. This is a little trickier. This takes a bit more work, but it's an important aspect to find their potential. There's many techniques that can be utilized to do that. The next thing is to invest in continuous development. Now, this one's critical. What we're talking about is not a one-time thing. Continuous development needs to be applied to make sure that you are extracting and utilizing the power of people. Then you want to make sure that you are matching roles with the potential. So you have to look at the talents, skills, and interests of people to make sure they're in the right place. I can tell you, when I worked for Interbay Funding, fantastic company, back 2000 to 2008, we did a fantastic job of this. When we found people that were just not quite right, we saw some other characteristics that would make them successful in another area, we moved people around pretty readily. And the results were incredible for not just for them, but ultimately for the company. And then finally, encourage them to contribute. When you give people the ability to start to contribute, they begin to take ownership. They come up with some fantastic ideas that are going to help your company, but you need to give them the green light to be able to do that. Now, here are the benefits of investing in your people, and by doing this and coming up with a plan to do this. First of all, you increase job satisfaction and morale. That is an obvious one. People start to like what they're doing, and they're really upbeat about it, which means you're going to have more engaged people, more motivated and committed people, and that equals profitability for your company. Also, it improves the culture and the image of the company. And the famous management guru, Peter Drucker, has said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that is so true. Most people don't realize the importance of culture. You can put a lot of good strategy on the table, but it'll fall short unless you have the culture to support and make that strategy work. And then loyalty. This is another great one. Having greater loyalty, which means you're going to have lower turnover. Lower turnover means you're going to save money because you're not spending money to find and replace people who have left your company. And then the last one, they become a source of innovation and ideas. This is fantastic because these people, once they buy in, start to come up with great ideas that are going to move your company forward in ways you probably would not come up with on your own. So here's our final thoughts as we head into this stretch here. Develop your potential and power. Developing it is a win-win strategy. This is not about just helping the company. It's not about just helping the people. It is a win-win, and it starts with executives and managers. This will not work unless you have the executives and management of a company and the ownership buying in to what I'm talking about. The other side of the coin is it also requires a mutual effort by the employees. They need to take ownership of this process as well. This is a 50-50 partnership. And finally, this is an important one for everybody. This is not just a business strategy. You need to look into other areas of your life where you can apply the ability to extract potential and power. That could be in your home, with your wife, with your children, with other family members. Could be in a church organization, a civic organization, on sports teams. This goes beyond just business. So here's our action steps. And the first one is, if you're an individual, you know how I feel about doing a 30-minute think time several times a week. Well, take a 30-minute think time and ask yourself, do I recognize my potential? Am I developing and using it? That's your power. Also, if you are a manager or owner, you need to create a business development plan. This doesn't have to be exotic, but you need to have a plan that you're working to make this happen. And if you need help discovering or accessing your potential and power, or if you need help for the potential and power of others, reach out to me at ski@radicalperformance.net. And of course, the last step is make sure you're back here in the huddle next week. And before we leave, actually before we get into Q&A, I want to mention I've recently co-authored a book called Create the Change You Want to See, Key Strategies to Fuel Your Success. It's in Amazon in both print and digital. You just go into the search bar on Amazon and type in Create the Change You Want to See. And right now we're keeping the digital version at 99 cents for a while to make it very affordable, but also because we are donating all the profits of the book to the end of the year to Feeding America. So we got some brothers and sisters out there that need some help, and we want to be able to do that. And finally, if you have any questions, thoughts, or you want help conducting a huddle for your teams, reach out to me at ski@radicalperformance.net or give me a call, 610-220-2224. And so for those of you that are leaving, I want to ask you to be safe, be well, and be a leader. Thank you so much, and let's jump into the Q&A.
All right, Ski.
Jeff, how are you there? You got some questions?
Yeah, I got 2 or 3 here. Okay, the first one is, it appears that a development plan will create more tasks and activities for owners and managers as they work with employees. What is the effect on this on the role for those owners and managers?
Okay, good one. A fair question too, because yes, to a certain extent, it's going to increase some responsibility in a different area, unless you've already been doing that. That is, working with your people, developing your people. But see, this is actually a responsibility of ownership and management all along. If people haven't been doing it, they've now got to be able to segment and plan that ownership and upper management needs to figure out how to make sure your managers have time to do that as well. Because it comes down to this. Management is about handling things, and leadership is about handling people. And we want to make sure that we don't get stuck in just doing management things. It is so important. We're in the people business. So if you're not allocating that time, you're shortchanging that management employee relationship. You're not going to be able to help those people if you don't commit to it. So how does that affect it? Yes, it's going to put some pressure on, but the benefit is in the long term, it will reduce the things that you need to do. You'll be managing things less because you'll be spending more time helping the people flourish and produce and be more productive.
Okay, super. And that kind of ties into the second issue, or the second question here was, and it's along the same lines. How do you get managers and leaders to buy into this concept? You know, if the employees are doing this, you know, but the culture of your company is not, you know, there, how do you try to get them to buy in?
Yeah, the first thing is you have to recognize as a leader that, and I've been there, by the way, so I can relate to this particular question, but you have to recognize that you are responsible for your group. And I don't mean to make it sound like you're separated from the company, but you can impact people. You can become that person who gives them the encouragement, that believes in people first, and then helps them find their potential. This has nothing to do with the company per se. And it would be beautiful if the company is mandating this and it's requiring all managers to do it. But if you can do it individually, and then find time to invest in their, and then this may require them to do it too, because you don't want to be spending your own money necessarily to do this. But there are some things you can do that aren't very expensive to help develop them further. And again, putting people in the right positions is another thing that you can do, that you don't need upper management's blessing to do. You're going to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
No, that's a great answer. I get it. It makes perfect sense. And we got one more question here. It says, I get what you're saying, but with production volume that we're seeing right now, I'm already stretched for time. What are my options?
Okay, well, at the risk of sounding a little self-serving here, that's what we do, and that's what companies like Radical Performance does. We work with companies where we can fill in, and we can be. Now, obviously, ownership and management has to be the one that's, for the most part, saying, hey, we believe in you. But we can take over from that standpoint, and we can help find that potential and cultivate that power and show them how they can develop, where they need to develop. So we can handle that particular part of it. And that's what, you know what it's like in a way, Jeff? It's like if you do all your own marketing, if you try to do everything yourself, it makes it tough for you to get out and do loans. So you need to find other resources that you can lay these things off to do, for them to do, so that you can focus on what you do best. And again, there's other resources out there that you can use. Don't feel it falls entirely on you.
Gotcha. Well, that's it for the question, Ski, for today's session. Another great job. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Jeff.
Us, and I'm looking forward to next week myself. Not only do I facilitate these on behalf of you and NAM, I also learn from them very, very much. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Okay, and thank you. Bye, everybody. See you next week at the Huddle.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.